Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Call the meeting to order. We'll call the roll, please.
Of course. Secretary Chaudhry is absent. Mr. Derenberg.
Here.
Vice Chair Eberhardt is present. Chuck Boyd as designee for Secretary Flora.
Present.
Ms. Lala.
Present.
Dr. Wright is absent. And Chair Casemeyer.
Here.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any public comment today?
No, Mr. Chair.
None? Okay. Executive Director's report, Alex.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning to you, Vice Chair Eberhardt, and members of the Commission. It's great to see you. Hope you each had a good Independence Day holiday with family and have enjoyed at least a little bit of downtime so far this summer. As we again have a substantial agenda, I'll restrict my report to comments on just two topics today. First, I'm happy to report that Allegheny County Public Schools is making good progress in their work to restore the first floor of Westernport Elementary School, which was damaged by storm-related flooding in May. Allegheny Public Schools is working to open the school in August using just the second and third floors of the building while their contractors work through the fall to repair the damaged first floor. The intention is to have the first floor back in service by January at the very latest. Because Allegheny County Public Schools expects that the cost of the facility repairs will be entirely covered by insurance, ACPS is not requesting any state funding assistance for the project from the IAC at this time. I and other IAC staff, as well as staff of our partner agencies DGS and MSDE, have been working over the past month with ACPS to support the school district's ongoing efforts. IAC and partner agency staff are coordinating very closely and giving the highest possible priority to carrying out all required state reviews associated with the project so that all state responsibilities are expedited while still meeting all applicable rules and requirements. In my conversation with Dr. Martirano, ACPS's new superintendent, I reiterated that the IAC and partner agencies stand ready to assist with emergency funding in support of the project if ACPS were to request such assistance. At this point in time, it appears that there will not need to be significant involvement by the IAC, so I may not have much to report in coming months, other than hopefully just to report the successful reopening of the first floor of Westernport once it's done. Second, today, I want to note that our staff is continuing to work hard to engage with each of Maryland's school districts around their capital plans for the coming decade. As I've mentioned in past meetings, it's absolutely essential that the state and county decision makers who determine capital appropriations know what school facilities projects will need to be done in coming years in order to ensure that every public school student in Maryland has a safe, healthy, and educationally sufficient school in which to learn, and that the portfolios of facilities remain fiscally sustainable. Part of the IAC's role is to be a conduit of this information to state decision makers who determine the IAC's capital grant budget. To carry out this role, IAC staff are ongoingly collecting as much information as we can from the school districts on their facilities needs. Our intention is to better quantify the need such that we can estimate the capital funds that will be needed annually to achieve the outcomes that I know we all want for Maryland's kids. This is not a piece of the work that will end after a burst of activity, but rather is a perennial effort that will remain ongoing as a regular part of the collaboration between state agencies and the school districts and counties around portfolio management. I look forward to reporting results from this work as it progresses. This concludes my report for this month, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Alex? Thank you very much. Let the records show that Mr. Toulour has joined the meeting. The consent agenda. Everybody had a chance to look at it. Are there any questions about the consent agenda? Do I hear a motion for approval?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Second by Mr. Derenberg. All in favor of the consent agenda, raise your hand and say aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Aye.
Item 3, FY 2027 and 2028 LEA state cost share percentages. Cassandra?
Mr. Chair, if I may, I'd like to give some background for this item and then hand it off to Cassandra for more detail.
Okay.
Thank you. By law, every 2 years, the IAC must, at a minimum, update the state cost share percentage for each LEA following the formula that the IAC has adopted into regulation and using updated input data. Additionally, the IAC may also choose to make changes to the formula by which we generate those percentages, if it chooses. Last year, I shared with you that we had heard from some LEAs that they would like to see a reevaluation of the factors in the formula in order to explore whether there might be ways to make the state share percentages more equitable. The last time such a reevaluation was done was in 2017. My hope last year was that staff could engage in a deep dive into the formula factors and then engage the LEAs in a work group to identify whether any adjustments to the formula are needed or would be advantageous to LEAs and the state. Over the course of the past year, however, the many demands on the IAC related to the challenging fiscal situation of the state, as well as the loads associated with carrying out 3 major statutorily required initiatives: our business management system, our new facilities data system, and the new school mapping data standards, crowded out the possibility of conducting such a deep dive. We simply did not have the capacity to manage another major initiative. So staff reviewed the formula factors and consulted state funding experts to identify whether any of the factors might be obsolete or in need of adjustment. The factors include county wealth, county support to the LEA's operating budget, the economic health of the county as measured by median household income and unemployment rates, facilities related need resulting from enrollment growth above the statewide average, county capital investment effort, and the level of family poverty as measured by eligibility for free or reduced meal subsidies. We found that all 7 factors remained valid, including the last one regarding free or reduced meal subsidies, because until the governor's office completes its review of how the state measures child poverty, free and reduced meals eligibility remains the basis for MSDE's concentration of poverty index. The only factor we found needing adjustment at this time was the Tier 1 county criterion related to unemployment. And this is because in the most recent data, not one county qualified for the unemployment-related credit. In light of that fact, we are proposing here that the IAC remove that unemployment-related factor from the formula in COMAR and provide the full 10 percentage points of state share to all counties that qualify for the Tier 1 status based on median household income. This change will mean that in this cycle, no county that qualifies based on median household income will lose percentage points. In fact, each county that qualifies based on median household income will receive the full 10 percentage points, and none of the 24 counties will be disadvantaged. This adjustment updates the formula to take into account the diminished prevalence and relevance of unemployment in the state today and supports maintaining the state cost shares as close to what they were in the last cycle as is possible. Accordingly, we're recommending one change only to the COMAR formula, which is to modify the Tier 1 requirement to provide 10 percentage points for any county that's a Tier 1 county, rather than having that factor divided with half the points going to median household income and the other half coming from unemployment. You can see the exact changes we're recommending on page 73 of your agenda, and I will now hand it to Cassandra to present the updated state cost share percentages that result from this proposed change and this cycle's recalculation.
Thanks, Alex. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members. So using the formula with the adjustment that Alex just described, we've calculated the new fiscal year 27 and 28 state cost share percentages that you can see those on page 72 of your agenda. With regard to the percentages, there are a few special provisions I want to point out. First is that COMAR requires that the minimum state cost share for any LEA is 50%. Second, the reductions from one cycle to another cannot exceed 5%. And third, reductions of 4% or more have to be phased in over 2 years. So in the table on page 72, you can see the differences from the prior calculation cycle. Two additional notes before I stand for questions. A statutory change required that the Maryland School for the Blind receive a 100% state cost share rather than the 93% that was previously established in COMAR. So this action includes a COMAR change to bring that state cost share into alignment with statute. And finally, there's a provision of statute that increases the state cost share for a county with a calculated cost share of 50% and a median household income in the bottom quartile of the state. That provision only applies to Garrett County in this round of the calculation and increases their cost share from 50% to be the same as Allegheny at 95%. The motion, Mr. Chair, is to modify COMAR 1439-0206D to provide a 10 percentage point state cost share increase where the LEA is located in a Tier 1 county, and to approve amendments to COMAR 1439-0206F to reflect the FY 2027 and fiscal year 2028 state cost share percentages as presented in this item, and statutory changes to the state cost share for the Maryland School for the Blind pursuant to Education Article 5-303K6. The proposed COMAR revisions will be published in the Maryland Register and will be open for public comment for a period of at least 30 days before returning to the IAC for final approval.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion for purposes of discussion?
So moved, Mr. Chair. Gloria Lawler.
Second by Ms. Eberhardt. Discussion, questions? Tell me a little bit about Somerset County.
So, Mr. Chair, Somerset does benefit from the Tier 1 change. So they received a 5 percentage point increase over the last cycle for Tier 1, but their guaranteed tax base add-on decreased from 8.4 to 7%. Their free and reduced price meals went from an add-on of 6.9 to 4.3, and their local debt and PAYGO went from 7.3 to 0. We analyzed this. It looks like there was a pretty significant difference in the amount of PAYGO that had been put toward school construction in the prior cycle versus this cycle, which is why they're getting a 5% reduction.
Any other questions on this issue? Okay, all in favor of the motion?
One sec, sorry.
Mike Sternberg.
Yeah, I have one question. The phase-in process, could you just go over that again?
So no county can receive more than 5% total decrease from one cycle to another. So
Okay.
Somerset, for example, in their calculation would have received a 6% decrease. They're capped at 5%. If an LEA is receiving a decrease of 4% or more, it gets phased in over 2 years. So an LEA with a 5% decrease like Somerset sees the first 2% decrease in fiscal year 27, and then the additional 3% is taken off of fiscal year 28.
So it only affects Somerset and Calvert? Is that right?
There,
Yeah.
give me one second. It's Calvert. Yes,
Yeah.
those are the only two with the 5% decreases.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we vote? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Raise your hands.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Item 4, 2026 cost per square foot for school construction. Gene?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice
Good morning.
Chair, members of the Commission. Each year, the IAC adopts an updated construction cost per square foot that is applied as part of the IAC's funding formula to each eligible square foot of funded projects. The cost per square foot applied to a project is based on the earlier of the first year the project received construction funding or the bid date if the project was forward funded by the LEA. This figure adopted will be for any projects that receive its first year of funding in the next year's CIP cycle or any project that bids from January 1st to December 31st, 2026. In order to calculate this recommended increase, IAC staff took a look at bids received in the past year as well as industry resources. The IAC adopted significant increases in past years as the state and our LEA partners have coped with significant construction inflation, increasing from $358 in 2022 to $385, which is a 7% increase in 2023. and up to $404, a 5% increase in 2024. In 2025, the IAC updated the building cost per square foot to $416, a 3% increase. Indicators suggest that inflation may still be softening, and we are recommending a conservative increase this year of 3.5%, which would lead to a building cost only of $431 per square foot. New construction projects that require site development will receive an additional 19%, which would result in the total cost per square foot of $513. One thing that is important to note is that the IAC still has flexibility to increase project funding on an individual in COMAR 14390208, which the IAC has exercised on several occasions over the past few years due to the volatility of the current market. So it's in the interest of the state to remain conservative with the approved cost per square foot in order to best control costs, since the state has the flexibility to adjust the cost per square foot when necessary. I will now read the motion, which is to adopt the calendar year 2026 statewide per square foot school construction cost of $431 for building only.
Thank you, Gene. Do I hear a motion to respect for purposes of discussion? Mr. Boyd makes the motion. Ms. Everhart seconds. Discussion, questions?
I had a question about board funding.
Mr. Derenberg.
So if LEA does board funds a project, for funding from the state after, they're eligible for the increase. Is that what we're saying or no?
So if the project bids between January 1st and December 31st of 2026, then it would lock that project in at this cost per square foot of $431 per square foot for building only. If it is a project that is eligible for that 19% site add-on, then it would be $513 per square foot. If those bids indeed came in higher, the LEA would still have the opportunity to apply for a maximum state award increase through the procedures outlined in COMAR 14390208.
Thanks.
Let me ask you this question. Is there some specific formula that gives us this number? Or, how do you decide between 3 and 3.5? How do you mechanically get to this number?
The industry resources that we reviewed all nominally had between a 2 to 5% increase, with an average around that 3.5%.
Okay. Oh, excuse me. Any other questions? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Excuse me. Item 5, FY 2027 Capital Improvement Program Instructions and Schedule. Arabia?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair,
morning.
Madam Vice Chair, and members of the Commission. It's that time of year when we present various items related to the implementation of the upcoming Capital Improvement Program for the Commission's approval. For your consideration, the proposed deadline for the submission of CIP request is October the 6th, and the proposed deadline for final amendments to the CIP request and letters of support from local government is November 28th, 2025. In prior years, the CIP instructions included policies, rules, and regulations that govern the capital improvement program. However, with all the recent updates and modified guidance incorporated within the IAC's Administrative Procedures Guide, we are recommending that the instructions be streamlined to serve as a resource for local education agencies on the application and supporting documentation submission processes through the business management system. To allow quick access to all of the requirements associated with the CIP, links to the APG have been incorporated throughout the instructions. The estimated allocations for the FY27 Enrollment Growth and Relocatable Classrooms initiative have been included in this item for your information. As noted in the background information section of this agenda item, LEAs are eligible for funding through this initiative if their enrollment growth exceeds 150% of the statewide average over the last 5 years, or the number of relocatable classrooms averages at least 250 or more over the last 5 years. Statutorily, the required allocation for the program doubled in FY27 to 80 million from the previous funding level of 40 million annually. I can now read the motion, which is to approve the FY27 Capital Improvement Program schedule and the revised CIP instructions as presented.
Thank you, Rabia.
You're welcome.
For purposes of discussion, do I hear a motion to this
So
effect?
moved, Mr. Chair.
Second by Mr. Derenberg. Questions for Arabia? Mr. Derenberg.
So we had a question that's the 75% approval for like the last 2 years. Are we still keeping the 75%? I thought we were trying to avoid having that.
I think that Alice probably needs to speak to that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. We are preparing options for adjusting the process for your consideration, and that would be something that would have to take effect through a change in the law in the coming legislative session. So that would be something that the General Assembly would have to act on next spring. And so it would not be available for us to use in this cycle, but hopefully in the following cycle.
I think mainly because we felt it was just too close, right? They didn't have their enough ready.
Right. Well, exactly. Many LEAs struggle, have to put a lot of effort and time into submitting the materials that they need to submit to us in the way they do prior to the 75% in December. And there would be a number of advantages to delaying it slightly and taking an alternative approach that focuses on the 90 and 100%. But again, that's something we'll bring back to you in a coming meeting. It's not something that can be acted on quite yet.
But so something that we don't have to give instruction. You got to bring something to us to approve.
Yes, we'll bring proposal to you, but also the General Assembly has to act.
Right.
Because it is written in the timing is written into the statute. And so that would have to be adjusted next spring.
Find someone to sponsor a bill.
Or a departmental bill, either one.
And another question, just on the EGRC's allocation. So it increased double funding, right?
Yes.
How did it affect each LEA that's associated with it? We have last year's funding for them compared to this year, or?
We can compare, we can provide that information, that comparisons. Last year, I believe the General Assembly and the governor approved 93 million. So it was a little higher. So it'd be kind of hard, even though it showed 40 at the final allocation was 93.5.
So if I could jump in really
Yes.
quick, Mr. Chair, I think it was 53 million. It went up from 40 to 53.
Yes.
I do have a comparison. We have a handful of LEAs that go down by no more than 1.3 million. Is Montgomery County. That's because the statute requires that the first 40 million be allocated a little bit differently than the second 40 million. The first 40 million is based upon enrollment. The
Right.
second 40 million is based upon the amount of enrollment growth over the statewide average. So you have to have enrollment growth over the statewide average to qualify for the second 40 million. The biggest change that we see is Wicomico gets a bump over last year of 6.9 million. Frederick also gets a pretty significant increase of 4.8. Carroll gets 3.8 over last year, and Howard gets 3.6 over last year, which is easy to do because they actually weren't eligible last year. They came back into eligibility this year. And I can get you the full. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Baltimore County has a decrease then, right?
Baltimore County qualifies based on relocatables, they don't have enrollment growth, so they're going down by 889,000 over last year.
So they're really only eligible for the first 20,
Yep.
or 40 million, whatever. Okay. They like
So
to make it
they're
hard,
FY
hard on
20.
you guys.
Huh?
They like to make it hard on you guys.
It is very complex. We do a lot of math.
True. Any
Yeah,
other questions?
sorry, one last addition is Washington County comes in for an addition of 4 million over last year, which was previously was 0.
So this really did help a lot of LEAs that wasn't receiving anything, but really did need the additional funds. I think like Frederick, yeah, being out there seemed like they could use the additional things like that. So that's great.
Any other questions? All in favor of the motion, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Aye.
Item 6, FY 2027 Capital Improvement Program LEA Target Allocations. Arabia?
Actually, Mr. Chair, I'll take this one.
Okay.
And then Cassandra and Arabia can step in and add additional. Similar to past practices, IAC staff have crafted CIP target allocations for every school system to assist them with developing a CIP submission that will garner the level of state support needed and local support and available to pre-plan, maintain, and complete projects in an efficient and cost-effective manner. Target allocations, I have to underscore, are preliminary and are for the purpose of giving LEAs a ballpark sense of the general magnitude of funding they are likely to be able to receive based upon a lot of assumptions at this point in time. So these target allocations are not a commitment for a certain level of funding, and they are certainly not final at this point in time. The allocation amounts are subject to change based upon the final capital budget amount that the Governor and General Assembly will approve in May of next year for fiscal year 2027. These target allocations are the most equitable division of what we all know is a very limited total pot of funding for school construction. We have developed these target allocations using enrollment as the primary basis for distribution, ensuring that each LEA receives a magnitude of funding commensurate with the population that they serve. We've also made adjustments based upon local wealth. In recent years, we had also factored in the average funding level for each LEA over the previous 10 years, but a number of LEAs had pointed out that this was not the most equitable method because those with large recent projects would receive more than those who had lacked the local resources to execute needed large projects. So this year we phased out the 10-year average completely. And just like we did last year, we'll continue to advocate for as much additional funding as possible from the General Assembly in order to meet what we know are significant and critical needs for school construction across the state. The minimum target allocation here is set at 1% of the total expected appropriation, or 2.75 million, which is based on a preliminary expected appropriation of 280 million, from which we subtracted 5 million that the staff recommends be held in a statewide reserve account to address unanticipated school construction needs that always come up, and an increase to the target allocations for critical ongoing large projects in Cecil County, Garrett County, and the Maryland School for the Blind to support those projects' cash flow needs. Those are ongoing projects that have to stay on schedule and to be completed. The total amount carved out for those 3 LEAs for the ongoing large projects is approximately 24.9 million. I will now read the motion, which is to approve the fiscal year 2027 Capital Improvement Program LEA target allocations as presented.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion for purposes of discussion? Mr. Derenberg and Ms. Eberhardt seconds. Questions, comments? Krishna.
Quick comment from MSDE staff, specifically school facilities, wanted to share and commend the fact that the 10-year average is being phased out, and that's going to help smaller counties specifically, and we are pleased to see that. Thank you, Alex.
Good, thank you. Mr. Derenberg.
So Alex, if we compare this projected 2027 with actual 2017, how much of a change is it for the LEAs and the overall budget?
Compared with last year?
Well, no, like 10 years ago.
2017.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, we, of course, prepared with a handy cheat sheet of the difference between this year and last year, but did not pull the numbers going that far back to 2017. So to answer your question, I'll have to do some research and pull those numbers and provide them to you later. Can't guess, can't pull off the top of my head at this point.
Yeah, it would also be interesting to see how much the enrollment changed in each LEA in that time
We can
frame.
absolutely do that comparison and provide it to you if you desire.
Yeah, and then maybe their average age of their school buildings.
Sure.
Just so we can compare and see if we're actually getting enough money to make a dent in what's going on or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if we do that, if we can put it in like the meeting notes, like the reply.
The minutes for this meeting?
I don't know how quick the minutes come out.
We could, but it may be. I'm going to offer that we could bring it back to you at the next month's meeting instead, so that you have an ability to take a look or discuss, ask any questions.
That'd be great.
Okay,
it's more like for public to really see. And
yeah, well, that would result from putting it either way.
Great, thank you.
All right, absolutely, thank you.
Other questions? So the trend for needing significant more money each year, how long do you see that going on, Alex? I mean, do you see this trend ending?
No, in a nutshell, no, and that's two reasons. One, the broad-based need in terms of facilities due to the aging of the nearly 1,400 school facilities in the state. Average age still around 31 years right now. That means that we have facilities that will simply need new roofs, new HVAC systems, and full renovations or replacements ongoingly. That won't disappear. Second, the continued high cost of construction, including increases due to construction cost inflation recently. This year we just presented to you proposed cost level 3.5% above last year. That makes a difference. That's 3.5% right there, just with the size and magnitude of projects, just adds significant cost. The gap is going to persist for quite some time. I don't see it going away.
Yeah. Okay. Any more questions? All in favor of the motion, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Item 7, School Safety Grant Program Administrative Procedures Guide. Cassandra?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since fiscal year 2022, the Maryland Center for School Safety has administered the School Safety Grant Program under an MOU with the IAC. But starting in the current cycle, the agency has declined to continue doing that. The IAC will resume administering the program, and the IAC staff have prepared in this agenda a revised APG for the program. It includes 3 attachments: the allocations by LEA, a program schedule, and a table that guides LEAs on the eligibility of project expenditures for SSGP versus some of the other Maryland Center for School Safety programs. This is one program, Mr. Chair, where the LEAs appreciate a quick turnaround time. So like we do for ASP, which is the only other program where the IAC votes to approve the LEA's total allocation ahead of time, we are asking the IAC to delegate authority to the executive director to approve these projects within those allocations that you all approve today. So the IAC staff never request approval to approve funding amounts. We only request approval to approve eligibility within funding amounts that are set by the commission. The motion, Mr. Chair, is to approve the Administrative Procedures Guide for the School Safety Grant Program, including the FY 2026 program schedule and LEA allocations as presented, and to delegate authority to the IAC Executive Director to approve eligible projects within each total LEA allocation, with a report of project awards submitted to the IAC periodically at regularly scheduled meetings.
Do I hear a motion to this effect? Mr. Derenberg and Ms. Everhart seconds. Discussion. So what is it that the Maryland Center for School Safety will do now? What remaining function do they have?
So, Mr. Chair, the Maryland Center for School Safety has a handful of other grants that they administer and approve, and some safety expertise and advisement functions that they carry. They do report to the school safety subcabinet, of which Alex is a member. So they do have a number of other functions. They also received additional grants in last year's session, which is tapping out their available capacity in order to be able to administer all of their different grant activities.
So how often does this group meet, Alex's executive committee or whatever?
It's generally monthly, hosted by the Center for School Safety. Many other agencies participate, including MSDE. And Krishna, if you'd like to add any comments on that, you're welcome to.
Krishna?
Yes, absolutely. There are aspects of this program that OSF and Office of School Facilities and MSDE can collaborate with both IAC and MCSS, because the MSD staff have the knowledge in certain areas of these programs that can be of assistance. So, Alex, thank you very much for letting me share those comments.
So this, Ms. Everhart. You're on mute, Linda. You're on mute, Linda.
Okay. The purpose of this is to allow schools to be able to use the money more quickly, correct? It'll help. That's a great idea.
So at these meetings, do many new concepts come up for consideration regarding school safety? I mean, different ideas about how to further protect students? Is that what happens at a meeting? Do you consider?
Mr. Chair, I will ask Arabia to report on, just very in a summary way, kind of what she's seen in the last couple of meetings as my designee. But I would just say, generally speaking, there's been a real focus on technology available to school districts to identify weapons coming into schools, as well as how to ensure training staff to ensure safety and security in schools, because it's not all about technology. It's essential to have properly trained staff and sufficient staff to support students and staff in the buildings. So Arabia, would you like to add anything else based on the recent meetings?
Well, I don't want to, it's okay. I just,
okay.
Is there a uniformity throughout the state on these measures? I mean, and once the center votes on something, does every school have to do what they propose, or is it optional, or what?
Yes, everything is uniform. So any regulations that come from the commission that are enacted, it does impact all schools. And actually, MSDE secretary is the chair of that commission, of that subcabinet. So, and very active.
Can schools initiate something without other schools doing it for safety? Do they have that authority?
They do.
Ability? Okay.
They do.
I'm interested in that issue.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Happy to follow up with you after if you have any other questions.
Item 8, FY 2026 Healthy School Facility Fund late applications. Arabia?
Yes, good morning again. Per the approved FY 2026 Healthy School Facility Fund application schedule, the established deadline for the project request to be submitted through the IAC's business management system was June 12, 2025. Late submissions from 3 LEAs were received 1 to 5 days after the deadline. Staff are requesting approval to accept the late submissions. All applications are currently under review and are expected to be presented to the Commission for approval at next month's meeting. The motion is to approve the acceptance of late FY 26 Healthy School Facility Fund applications.
Thank you, Ruby. Do I hear a motion to that effect?
So moved, Mr. Chair. Lawler.
Second, Ms. Everhart. Any questions about this item? All in favor say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, before we move to the next item, if I could just take us back to the school safety grant program. We had a first and a second, but we never voted.
Oh, we didn't. Oh, I apologize. Jeez,
That's okay.
Back to the school facility fund late applications. All in favor of the motion, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thanks for catching me up there. Item 9, FY 2026 Capital Improvement Program Award Adjustment and Maximum State Award Amendment. Charles County Public Schools, William B. Wade Elementary, Pre-K and K Kindergarten Edition. Gene?
Morning again. The maximum state award for the William B. Wade Elementary Pre-K and K Edition project was erroneously reduced between the 90% and 100% recommendation rounds of the fiscal year 2026 CIP due to an inaccurate ineligible figure used in the calculation. Charles County Public Schools has approximately $1.9 million in remaining EGRC funds from the fiscal year 2026 CIP, which can cover the $276,000 increase needed to fully support this project's state portion of the contract for expenditures eligible for state funding. I will now read the motion, which is to amend the maximum state award for the Charles County Public Schools William B. Wade Elementary Pre-K and K Edition project from $5,911,230 to $6,187,230. To apply $276,000 of fiscal year 2026 enrollment growth or relocatable classroom funds designated for Charles County Public Schools to the project in the fiscal year 2026 capital improvement program, and to modify the previously approved construction contract approval for the project to apply the additional $276,000 in fiscal year 2026 EGRC funding for a total state contract award amount of $6,187,230.
Thank you, Gene. Do I hear a motion
You're
to
welcome.
that effect for purposes of discussion? Mr. Derenberg and Ms. Everhart seconds. Comments, questions? All in favor of the motion, say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Item 10, FY 2024 and FY 2026 Capital Improvement Program Amendments, Baltimore City Public Schools. Gene?
At the end of May, IAC staff had received a request from city schools to rescind funds awarded to 12 projects in the fiscal year 2024 CIP, listed on page 101 of the agenda, totaling $26,389,500, and to fund these same projects at the same values in the fiscal year 2026 CIP. City Schools has indicated this is necessary in order to meet project funding timelines as a result of a lack of local funding availability due to unforeseen project cost increases associated with other fiscal year 2024 CIP projects. I will now read the motion, which is to rescind $26,389,500 awarded to 12 projects funded through Baltimore City Public Schools fiscal year 2024 capital improvement program, transfer the funds to the Local Education Agency Reserve Account Fund, and amend the fiscal year 2026 CIP to include the awards as presented.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to that effect? Mr. Boyd and Mr. Tiller seconds. Any questions for Jean about this issue? All in favor of the motion? Oh, Mr. Derenberg.
So when it goes back to their reserve, they have 2 years to use it? Is that right?
That is correct. They have 2 years to get the projects under construction contract.
Right, great, thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? All in favor of the motion, say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Item 11, FY 2024 Healthy School Facility Fund Amendment, Howard County Public School System. Sean?
Morning, Mr. Chair.
Morning.
Morning, Madam Vice Chair and members of the Commission. On June 10th, IAC staff received a request from Howard County Public School Systems to relocate funds from the Healthy School Facility Fund statewide reserve account to the River Hill High School chiller replacement project and the Wild Lake High School chiller and cooling tower replacement project based on higher than anticipated bid results. The LEA noted that the factors associated with the increase in project costs are for additional rigging and material transport, as both school central cooling plants are located in penthouse mechanical rooms. I will now read the motion, which is to amend the maximum state award for the Howard County Public School System fiscal year 2024 Healthy School Facility Fund River Hill High School chiller replacement project and award $142,740 from the HSFF statewide reserve account to the project, which increases the award from $885,720 to $1,028,460. And, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Sorry, one more. Yep. To amend the maximum state award for the Howard County Public School System fiscal year 24 Healthy Schools Facility Fund Wild Lake High School chiller and cooling tower replacement project and award $150,610 from the Healthy School Facility Fund statewide reserve account to the project, increasing the total award from $1,328,580 to $1,479,190.
Excuse me for cutting you off. Thank you.
No problem. Nope. I'll stand for questions.
Do I hear a motion to this item for purposes of discussion? Mr. Boyd makes a motion, Ms. Everhart seconds. Questions for Sean? Comments? All in favor of the motion, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Item 12, FY 2025 Healthy School Facility Fund Amendments, Anne Arundel County Public Schools. Lisa.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Madam
Morning.
Vice Chair, and members of the Commission. In June, IAC staff were informed by Anne Arundel County Public Schools that bids for the Crofton Woods Elementary roof replacement project came in slightly higher than anticipated, and that favorable bids were received for the Sunset Elementary roof replacement project. AACPS has requested to realign funds for these two projects accordingly. I will now read the motion, which is to revert $94,357 of the FY 2025 Healthy School Facility Fund award to the Anne Arundel County Public Schools Sunset Elementary School Roof Project to the HSSF statewide reserve account and transfer $94,357 from the Healthy School Facility Fund statewide reserve account to the Anne Arundel County Public Schools Crofton Woods Elementary School roof project.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to this effect?
So moved.
Mueller and Ms. Lawler seconds. Questions? Any comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Or raise your hand. Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Item 13, pass-through grant amendment, Baltimore City Public Schools. Gene?
On June 11th, Baltimore City Public Schools requested an amendment to their pass-through grant application to cancel funding awards for the Baltimore Polytechnic Institute and Western High Building limited renovation projects, and to increase the amount of funding awarded to the Baltimore City College renewal project to address the higher than anticipated bid results. This realignment will apply an additional $37 million to the $18.5 million figure already approved at the May 11, 2023 IAC meeting, totaling $55 million of PTG funds awarded to the City College renewal project. I will now read the motion, which is to realign a total of $37 million of pass-through grant funds awarded to the Baltimore City Public Schools limited renovation projects at the Baltimore Polytechnic Institute number 403 and Western High Building number 407 to the renewal project at Baltimore City College number 480, thereby increasing the award from $18.5 million to $55.5 million.
Thank you. For purposes of discussion, do I hear a motion? Ms. Eberhardt makes a motion, Ms. Derenberg seconds. Questions, comments? So what caused this to happen?
It was due to the increased bid results for the City College project. And the Polytechnic and Western High School projects will still be jointly funded BTL and CIP, to which we've already done the BTL approval for. And very recently as well, rescinded the design funding, since that is being handled through the BTL funds, to apply those funds into the fiscal year 26 CIP through an amendment as construction funding.
Any other comments? All in favor of the motion, say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Jean. Item 14, adoption of final COMAR revisions to project delivery methods. Victoria.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice
Morning.
Chair, and members of the Commission. At the April 10th, 2025 IAC meeting, the Commission voted to approve the proposed changes to COMAR 143904, which modified the notification requirements for local use of job order contracting and construction management agency project delivery methods. The IAC passed this motion unanimously. IAC staff submitted this proposal for publication in the May 16th, 2025 Maryland Register, and the revisions were published for the requisite 30-day public comment period. IAC staff received no public comment on these proposed changes. If approved, these revisions will be official 10 days after publication of this final approval in the Maryland Register. I will now read the motion, which is to adopt the final COMAR revisions as published in the May 16th, 2025 Maryland Register, Volume 52, Issue 10, page 471.
Thank you, Victoria. Do I hear a motion to this effect?
So moved.
Second by Mr. Derenberg. Any questions about this item? All in favor of the motion, say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Item 15, for our last agenda item, the Commission expects to discuss a personnel matter and receive legal advice from counsel pursuant to sections 3-305 and B7 of the General Provisions Article of the Annotated Code of Maryland. I will ask for a motion to close this meeting. Do I have a motion? Mr. Derenberg, second by Ms. Eberhardt. All in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. The board will adjourn this meeting from the closed session. Thank you very much.